Jake Murphy drifted through the docking bay of Galactic Council Station Omega-7, pondering the exact trajectory of his life that had spiraled so spectacularly off course, leaving him as humanity's designated envoy to an assembly of extraterrestrials who likely viewed him as a mere conversation piece, or perhaps even a savory amuse-bouche. The sheer magnificence of the station was undeniably striking. Comment, "I'm ready," if you think one decision can flip the fate of a galaxy. Colossal crystal spires spiraled through manipulated gravity fields as holographic projections flaunted what he surmised were either celestial maps or obscenely priced digital art. "Ah, the human makes his presence known," proclaimed Ambassador Vexar the Magnificent, a towering 7-foot purple lizard adorned with enough golden finery to finance a minor planet's entire military apparatus. His voice radiated an overbearing arrogance, hinting at a life untouched by adversity, a fact Jake was eager to amend. How utterly charming that Earth dispatches such a diminutive envoy. Jake smoothed his regulation diplomatic jacket, flashing Vexar his most captivating grin. Indeed, our more substantial individuals are preoccupied with matters of utmost importance, such as ensuring the flawless operation of our sanitation systems, authentic hallmarks of advanced civilization. Counselor Zix, resembling a praying mantis fused with a high-tech calculator, clicked with palpable disapproval. "The human exhibits characteristic mammalian levity," he stated. "Perhaps this explains why your species has only narrowly achieved faster-than-light travel." "Oh, we've definitely cracked it," Jake retorted, eyes following General Cager as he strode by. The man was essentially an armored juggernaut, plagued by severe anger control problems and seemingly carrying a miniature armaments plant on his back. "We simply lack the compulsion to overcompensate by constructing vessels rivaling minor satellites in scale." The trio of extraterrestrial envoys traded glances that Jake interpreted as laden with significance, an ominous sign often preceding proposals of extraordinary foolishness, a scenario he had previously encountered during his pest control tenure on the frontier worlds. Just before a certain intellect opted to meddle with an item explicitly marked, "Do not engage." "Proceed with caution," Vexar proclaimed, his tail swaying with what Jake perceived as imposing command. "The Council anticipates your presence." The Council chamber was purposefully engineered to instill a sense of insignificance in visitors. Colossal holographic projections unveiled the breathtaking scale of galactic civilization, with countless delegate pods gracefully orbiting a magnificent central dais. Jake couldn't help but acknowledge the sheer spectacle, a testament to boundless time and resources. "The pivotal question before us today," Vexar's resonant voice reverberated through the vast chamber, "is whether humanity merits unfettered entry into our cosmic fraternity, or if they must endure a period of probation until their true value is unequivocally demonstrated." Jake advanced, observing how the chamber's illumination amplified his diminutive stature. "Well, that's hardly foreboding. So what crucial point do we demonstrate? Our ability to prevent further accidental destruction of your exploratory vessels." The wave of subdued voices echoing through the hall confirmed their precise apprehension. "Counselor Zix, humanity's unsettling propensity for violence and volatile behavior has become increasingly apparent. I propose a trial by combat." And there it was. Jake had anticipated the inevitable suggestion of the galaxy's preferred method for resolving diplomatic impasses. After all, what signifies a sophisticated civilization more than orchestrating deadly battles for universal amusement? "A duel to the death, then," General Kager boomed, his voice a rasping cacophony, as if a rock slide was contemplating the meaning of existence. "Let this human champion demonstrate the value of their species in the ultimate arena." Jake's eyes widened. Comment below. What would you do if you were Jake right now? Fight bluff or run like hell? Hold on. Are you seriously suggesting we resolve galactic diplomacy with a freaking brawl? What's the next step? Resolving trade disputes with arm wrestling? For ages, the arena has determined the destiny of empires, Vexar announced, visibly relishing the moment. A hallowed custom, distinguishing the elite from the unworthy. Right, Jake thought, because systematic slaughter for bureaucratic validation screams civilized society. He scanned the room, observing the unsettling eagerness to witness his imminent transformation into a human smoothie. And what if I decline? Counselor Zix's mandibles clicked, perhaps with sardonic amusement. Then humanity's provisional acceptance is perpetually deferred, pending recurrent tribunal assessments. Jake experienced a profound sense of despair. Tribunal assessments involving paperwork, Zix elaborated obligingly. Copious amounts of triplicate documentation. Vexstar echoed resignedly. Very well, very well. Frankly, I'd embrace the lethal arena over this bureaucratic nightmare any day. At least being devoured alive has a definitive conclusion. The chamber exploded in what Jake perceived as jubilant shouts, although discerning excitement from sheer agony was tricky with some species. A colossal holographic display materialized, revealing the arena of ultimate judgment in all its horrifying splendor. It resembled a gladiator arena brutally fused with a lethal death trap production facility, meticulously designed by a twisted sadist. "The human now confronts our champion," General Kager proclaimed. Jake perceived a visible unease amongst the other delegates. The Alpha Predator of Station Omega-7. Alpha Predator? Jake arched an eyebrow, intrigued. Seriously? Like a cosmic tiger fueled by pure rage? The ensuing silence was deafening, akin to asking if the sun is warm while basking in a supernova's glow. A hushed voice broke the stillness. The being's designation is Vexar, codename Gu the Destroyer. It boasts an undefeated record, its species subjugating 17 star systems prior to our containment. "A specimen?" Jake's voice faltered. "So you're seriously suggesting you've imprisoned some intergalactic serial killer? Now your ultimate solution?" "The arena sustains it," Counselor Zix declared with an alien arrogance Jake was beginning to recognize. "It hasn't fed in 3 cycles. Its hunger will be considerable." Jake gazed up at the holographic arena, then back at the hundreds of alien delegates, their faces alight with the expectation of a spectacle that would become legendary. "You know what? Even this is a step up from my day." Recent performance appraisal. The commute provided Jake precisely a dozen minutes to ruminate on his life decisions. Arguably excessive, since many were demonstrably disastrous. The spectator areas overflowed with delegates who had evidently reorganized their agendas, anticipating a swift yet captivating diplomatic episode. "Esteemed ladies, gentlemen, and diverse organic entities," the announcer's voice reverberated, introducing humanity's champion, Jake Murphy. Jake ambled into the arena, offering a nonchalant wave. "Appreciate you all showing up. Massive thanks to my agent, my therapist, and the genius who invented alcohol for enabling this surreal moment." The crowd's hushed anticipation replaced the murmur as a colossal gate at the far end of the arena groaned open. Jake, a veteran of pest control on the most desolate frontier planets, had witnessed horrors aplenty. Yet the unholy sound emanating from behind that massive portal was the very genesis of primal fear, the kind that spurred his ancient forebears to invent religion. The announcer then lowered his voice, filled with a sacred awe, continuing his narration. Gorath, the supreme predator of 17 ravaged worlds, the annihilator of armadas, the terror echoing across the outer rim. Yet from the gloom materialized a being defying Jake's anticipation. Visions of a colossal space tiger, amplified with savage fangs and unbridled fury, dissolved. Instead, Gorath resembled a grizzly, subjected to a decade-long diet of pure protein and unadulterated rage, further enhanced with razor-sharp claws and formidable armor. Towering at 12 feet on its powerful hind legs, the beast's rippling muscles hinted at immense strength. Claws, razor-sharp and formidable, could likely shred starships or casually pop open cans. Its pitch-black fur devoured the light, and its eyes burned with a cunning intelligence, implying Jake wasn't just facing death, but an artful execution. The observation decks hushed into complete stillness. Even the speaker appeared to have momentarily blanked on their script. Gore's colossal head pivoted towards Jake, and the human diplomat felt an overwhelming surge of primal survival instincts, urging him to flee, vanish, or simply succumb, and hope for a swift end. Jake gazed upon the star-conquering entity, shrugged nonchalantly, and quipped, "Honestly, you're hardly the spectacle I imagined. I had envisioned something closer to an adorably colossal feline." Gorath cocked its head, seemingly parsing whether this diminutive human dared to jest at its grandeur. The audience gasped, bracing for the imminent onslaught. Jake remained rooted, his legs seemingly paralyzed, as the infamous Annihilator advanced with a predatory elegance that had reportedly compelled 17 civilization to yield without resistance. Gath's colossal paws struck the arena floor like crashing thunder. Each stride propelled 12 feet of weaponized evolution nearer to Jake's ever more precarious mortality. The beast's nostrils dilated as it advanced, and Jake discerned muscles tensing beneath its raven fur, poised to render his diplomatic career the galaxy's briefest. Abruptly, the unexpected occurred. Gorath halted, this supreme predator paralyzed mid-motion, a mere 10 feet from Jake, its colossal head cocked as those keen eyes scrutinized him. Its nostrils flared dramatically, and it began to analyze the surrounding air near Jake with a striking focus, hinting at a fascinating discovery. Jake managed, his eloquence seemingly deserting him alongside any sense of self-preservation. "Is this where you detect trepidation? Because I'm practically swimming in it." Yet Gorath ceased its advance, choosing instead to methodically circle Jake, its colossal head descending until their gazes almost met. In that close proximity, Jake discerned that Gorath's eyes possessed not just intellect, but an ageless wisdom. This was no mere brute. This being had witnessed empires bloom and wither, leading armadas and dominating planets via cunning as much as raw power. The gallery audience grew impatient. This wasn't the instant bloodbath they'd anticipated. Vexar's amplified voice resonated. What is the beast anticipating? Why the delayed assault? Gorath's colossal nostrils flared once more. Then the creature's whole disposition underwent a startling shift. Its ears shot forward, its tail initiated a tentative wag, and it emitted a baffling sound, a blend of menacing growl and gentle purr. What in the world? Jake whispered, bewildered. It was then the past crashed into him. 3 years prior, Kepler 442b, a mining outpost ravaged by indigenous void rats, vicious beings, house cat-sized, yet possessing the fury of hyped-up honey badgers and jaws capable of tearing through starship hulls. For half a year, Jake endured that desolate rock, inhabiting makeshift dwellings, inhaling reprocessed air, and relentlessly pursuing the diminutive fiends within the labyrinthine mines, armed solely with unwavering resolve and heavy-duty extermination gear. The scent, that's what triggered Gorath. Despite 3 years having passed, despite numerous ablutions and an entire overhaul of his attire, Jake perpetually bore minute vestiges of void rat pheromones ingrained deep within his very skin, imperceptible to humans, almost unnoticed by most extraterrestrials, yet acutely apparent to a being with Gorath's heightened senses. Gorath emitted that sound once more, amplified in volume, before abruptly lowering onto all fours. The colossal predator advanced towards Jake with palpable eagerness, its tail swinging more vigorously as it investigated Jake's hands and attire. "This has to be a joke," Jake exclaimed, observing in utter astonishment as the annihilator of 17 star systems started behaving akin to a gigantic, exuberant canine. "You catch the scent of void rats, don't you?" Gorath's response to the mere whisper of void rats was instant and explosive. Its ears clamped down, a ferocious snarl exposing railroad spike-sized teeth, unleashing a ceiling-dusting roar. Yet this raw aggression wasn't aimed at Jake. Instead, Gorath intensified its sniffing with renewed focus. Its gargantuan paws, with surprising gentleness yet unwavering force, nudged Jake's arms and chest. "Unbelievable," Jake gasped, comprehension flooding him. "You loathe those contraptions just as intensely as I do." The assembly descended into pandemonium. Representatives clamored with inquiries, pressed for justifications, and succumbed to the sort of widespread breakdown that erupts when your spectacle abruptly loses all coherence. Jake was scarcely aware of their words, utterly consumed by the realization that Gorath, the fabled apex predator of legend, was now nuzzling him affectionately. "Your kind," Jake uttered, gazing into those wise, primeval eyes. "Aren't they the void rat's sworn adversaries? You must sense that I've eradicated countless numbers of them." Gorath, in response, settled back on its haunches and, in a gesture that nearly stopped Jake's heart, gingerly rested a colossal paw upon his shoulder. The beast's face had morphed entirely from a menacing predator to something resembling profound respect. In that instant, Jake grasped he wasn't facing a mere automaton of annihilation. He was confronting a comrade in arms, a soulmate who deeply empathized with the unique brand of purgatory born from pursuing beasts that propagated at an exponential rate, exhibiting utter disregard for well-being or structural integrity. The arena fell into a suspenseful hush, the tension palpable. Gore remained seated near Jake, a giant paw guarding his shoulder, as galaxy leaders struggled to grasp the scene. Their deadliest weapon, their mythic apex predator, was seemingly sharing a tender moment with the human they'd anticipated would be reduced to mere paste. "What's unfolding?" Vexar's voice, fracturing across the arena's speakers, shed its typical arrogant dominance for a tone alarmingly akin to sheer panic. "Why hasn't the human fallen?" Jake glanced towards Gore, now emitting a deeply satisfied rumble, not unlike a diesel engine fueled by pure euphoria. "All right, colossal friend, I believe we've perplexed them thoroughly. Shall we elucidate or allow them to decipher the enigma. Gorath responded by inclining his massive frame, and with unexpected tenderness for a being whose claws could bisect starships with ease, he gently nudged Jake's head. The gesture radiated a powerful protectiveness, a silent declaration. This diminutive being is under my aegis, and any who dare menace him shall discover precisely why 17 stellar empires chose capitulation over confrontation with me. As the viewing galleries exploded into pandemonium, delegates erupted in a cacophony of languages, clamoring for explanations, demanding urgent committee sessions, and generally experiencing the kind of systemic implosion that occurs when reality defiantly deviates from the plan. Ladies, gentlemen, and beings beyond imagination, Jake boomed, his voice cutting through the arena with an eerie clarity, amplified by acoustics engineered to broadcast the final gasps of the doomed. I believe there's been a minor misconception regarding humanity's unique contribution to this intergalactic society. He extended his hand, and in a gesture that resulted in multiple delegates swooning, and prompted General Krager to emit a sound akin to a failing hydraulic mechanism, scratched behind Gore's ear. The alpha predator's deep purring grew louder, and its tail commenced to swish with such intensity that it generated miniature dust devils. You see, Jake continued, his tone shifting to that of a seasoned educator, patiently guiding exceptionally slow learners through fundamental physics concepts. Gareth isn't merely a soulless instrument of destruction. His species, based on my current assessment of this unfolding scenario, developed in tandem with a force that humanity has come to know exceptionally well. A force that, quite remarkably, seems to automatically designate us as kin within his worldview. Counselor Zix's voice sliced through the pandemonium, a shrill pitch of bewilderment morphing into stark terror. What blather is this, human? Void rats, Jake stated plainly, observing Gorath's frame constrict with palpable tension. The alien's head whipped towards the spectator platforms, lips contorting into a vicious snarl, showcasing eons of predatory refinement in tooth design. Or as you humans might dramatically proclaim, the insatiable swarm, the star-devouring plague, or whatever hyperbolic title you've bestowed upon those deceptively cute, genocidal fuzzballs. The gallery's response was instantaneous and utterly revealing. Delegates recoiled from the arena's brink, a cacophony of panicked chatter, guttural roars, and electronic signals erupting around them. Even the usually unflappable Vexar, who'd been posturing confidently at the forefront of his viewing box, now found himself pinned against the rear wall. Gorath's kin, Jake pressed on, reveling in the present perhaps more than prudence dictates. As apex predators of void rats, for the last 3 years, I've inadvertently carried the lingering essence of countless fallen void rats, deeply ingrained within my very being. Thus I transcend the image of a mere vulnerable mammal. I am now perceived as a kindred warrior, one who has stood against the same age-old foe his people have confronted for eons. Jake glanced up at Gorath, whose focus had shifted back to his newfound packmate. Isn't that so, pal? I'm sure your kin possess tales of the epic void rat skirmishes. Surely they hold legends of champions who consecrated their existence to pursuing those diminutive fiends. Gorath's reply involved descending his gigantic head to Jake's height, followed by an action that hushed the audience into total stillness. The ultimate predator, the annihilator of 17 star systems, tenderly pressed its snout against Jake's brow in an undeniable display of reverence and kinship. All right, listen up, Jake announced, his voice now resonating powerfully through the absolute stillness of the arena. Humankind isn't vying to demonstrate its worthiness to join your galactic fellowship. We've irrevocably proven our capacity to achieve a feat none of you have mastered with true efficacy." He lingered, his gaze sweeping across the petrified visages in the viewing galleries before motioning towards Gorith, who now sat as a fiercely protective sentinel, akin to the galaxy's most formidable guardian. "We confront the very nightmares that haunt you, a bond forging us into kin with the most formidable entities in existence. Perhaps the pivotal question is whether you warrant our formidable defense." Vexar's voice, raspy with suppressed rage, reverberated through the arena. "Protection?" Jake flashed a confident grin. For the first time since his arrival, Jake seized absolute command of the situation. "Oh, absolutely. Having spent 3 grueling years combating void rats, I can attest that they're pervasive, evolving, insatiable, and you'll desperately need every ally imaginable." The Galactic Council's emergency assembly occurred a mere 37 minutes following Jake's brief arena address. Undoubtedly, a bureaucratic panic response record. The very delegates who'd gleefully awaited his downfall now tripped over each other, showering humanity with offers, from complete integration to their private comm channels. Jake settled into the chair once occupied by the accused, now hailed as the distinguished guest, amidst delegates desperately hoping he'd overlook their prior eagerness to see him devoured. Gorath relaxed next to him, a stark reminder of the fascinating twist this diplomatic affair had undergone. "The motion is carried without dissent," Counselor Zix declared, his mandibles clicking with palpable nervous tension, now recognizable to Jake. "Humanity is awarded complete membership within the Galactic Council, encompassing all rights, benefits, and crucially, lucrative pest management opportunities. Eradication agreements." Jake's brow arched, understanding dawning. Vexar advanced, and Jake found it subtly comical that the ambassador, previously so keen to dominate, now kept a precise Gorith's length from the discussion. "The Council acknowledges humanity's exceptional aptitude in eradicating invasive species plaguing our allied civilizations." "Void rats, you mean?" Jake stated dryly. "We favor the designation interdimensional pests," General Krager boomed, maintaining a cautious distance from Jake and his newfound companion. "A staggering 47 systems have been overrun in the last solar cycle. Our conventional containment strategies have proven utterly insufficient." Jake relaxed into his chair, casually scratching behind Gorth's ear as the apex predator emitted satisfied, guttural purrs that likely breached numerous noise regulations. "Conventional containment, let me venture a guess. You attempted bombardment." "The bombardment proved ineffectual," Vexar confessed. "Assassination attempts proved fruitless. Scorch-earthing planets yielded disappointing and costly results." Jake concurred knowingly. "Precisely as I anticipated. Void rats transcend mere vermin. They represent evolutionary triumph. Their adaptability ensures survival against all odds. Technological or military supremacy offers no advantage. You absolutely cannot out-reproduce them." He arose. Gorth mirrored his movement with a seamless grace, a stark reminder of the raw power that had subjugated 17 star systems. "However, you can outsmart them, and you can certainly outlast them. Critically, you can cultivate their very way of thinking. And humanity is uniquely capable of achieving this," Counselor Zix inquired, his tone betraying a pre-existing understanding. "Humans," Jake declared, a grin splitting his face, a blend of pride and a hunter's gratification. "Tenacious pursuers. We evolved to pursue prey until they collapsed from sheer fatigue. We're the species that sized up mastodons and thought, I can turn that into a feast if I just stay on its trail long enough. Void rats? Child's play. But the council's buzz shifted, dismissive to deeply intrigued, like they'd spotted pure gold. Vexar chose his words. We propose a strategic alliance. Humanity offers premier extermination services for challenging infestations, granting full membership benefits in return, which includes access to vibrant trade networks, advanced technology exchanges, and robust protective treaties. Jake inquired further, knowing bureaucrats always had an and. Exclusive pest control contracts spanning all member systems. General Krager injected a note implying a notable compromise, naturally requiring commensurate remuneration. Jake glanced at Gorth, observing the negotiations with a perceptive focus indicative of full comprehension. Thoughts, big fella? Fancy a joint venture? Gorth responded by rising, approaching Vexar, and strategically positioning himself between the ambassador and Jake. The message resonated with startling clarity. The alpha predator had decidedly chosen his allegiance, and it most certainly wasn't with those who dared to offer his new pack brother as a sacrifice. I surmise, Jake quipped, relishing Vexar's struggle to remain composed amidst 12 feet of fiercely protective guardian. We can definitely arrange something, but I do have a few stipulations. Naturally, Vexar chirped. First, humanity secures full voting power, not merely association. We're collaborators, not subordinates. Agreed? Second, Geth will serve as the designated ambassador between his people and the council. I believe the moment is ripe for introductions to his kin. The ensuing silence was the pregnant kind, the stillness that precedes the crushing realization of a monumental blunder. Third, Jake resumed, leaning back comfortably as Gareth rejoined him. We've inaugurated Human Gorith Extermination Services as a formal council body, complete with unified command, absolute diplomatic protection, and outstanding health care, seeing as this line of work presents significant dangers. Unanimous decision, Councillor Zix declared promptly, perhaps preemptively, preventing deeper reflection on granting diplomatic immunity to both humans and apex predators. Jake rose, extending a hand towards Vexar, who paused, scrutinizing it, before tentatively reciprocating the handshake. Well done, Ambassador. You've effectively designated humanity as the galaxy's premier ecological problem solvers. I trust you're content with your choice. Exiting the council hall, Geth faithfully trailing, Jake mused on the cosmos's peculiar irony. He'd arrived anticipating a role as humanity's most hesitant envoy, yet evolved into the galaxy's premier exterminator ambassador. The ironic part, get this, he remarked to Gorth, strolling towards the docking bay where Jake's vessel awaited. 3 years back, chasing void rats felt like the absolute pits. Little did I know, it was the ultimate training for the most phenomenal gig imaginable. Gorth emitted a noise that could have been mirth, concurrence, or simply flatulence. With apex predators, discerning distinctions proved challenging. Nonetheless, Jake mused as they embarked on his vessel, homeward bound with exhilarating news, conveying to his superiors that humanity had ascended to galactic prominence solely because he emanated the precise olfactory essence of deceased rodents, would undoubtedly be an intriguing endeavor. If this story blew your mind, like, share, and comment your favorite moment. The cosmos, he mused, possessed a profoundly warped sense of irony, and he found himself surprisingly at peace with it.